You're listening to Eureka, brought to you by ROCCO Radio in association with the Innovators Research 2018. Hugh Carberry was working as Transactions Operations Manager in Telefonica in 2012, about the same time that Anam were developing their A2P SMS firewall solution. He realized that most of his reporting needs were provided from the internal Telefonica solution and not the Anam solution. By 2015, Hugh had joined Anam and immediately started working on the reporting solution he so missed in Telefonica, and that would bring more relevant data to the business customers of Anam. It took several years working through 2016 and 17 to develop the solution they have designed today. This is Hugh's story.
Hi. My name is Hugh Carberry. I've recently been appointed as Director of Revenue Analytics here at Anam Technologies. So to give you a one-line description of what we do here at Anam, I would say we specialise in helping mobile operators secure their SMS channel and increase their A2P revenues. And to describe my own role here at Anam, I have a remit to ensure that each project is clearly focused on the business outcomes and maximising revenue for our customers. So delivering on this requires two things. It requires an intelligent and innovative use of our analytics layer that sits on top of our technical solution. Secondly, it has a young and dynamic international team who are hungry to deliver results. So over the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you about the journey we've embarked upon here at Anam. When I joined, we were mainly delivering technical products with a technical focus, and then today we're in a completely different position. We still provide best-in-class technical solutions, but now there's an additional deliverable. We deliver revenue with a business focus. I'm going to talk about the innovative ideas we've embraced. I had an initial idea and vision, and then we refined and reviewed this idea to get to the end result, or at least the current version of the end result. We now have a best-in-class reporting and analytics solution that maximizes our customers' revenue. So, as you'd expect, going from an idea to having a product is not a trip in a straight line, but to be honest, it's made it all more interesting. So before I get into the detail of how this aspect of our business has been developed to help Anam become the #1 SMS firewall provider in the world, I'll talk a bit about my own journey. So this is me from college to when I joined Anam. In my studies, I'm a qualified electronic engineer. I studied at UCD in Ireland. Then from the time I left college until when I joined Anam, which was just over 3 years ago, all of my working life had been spent in the world of mobile operators. So when I came out of college back in the 90s, mobile and wireless technologies were capturing everyone's imagination. This was the cutting edge of new technology and innovation. Naturally enough, I jumped at the chance to get involved and started my career working in the British Telecom Research Centre at Astral Park in Ipswich. But since then, I've also worked at various roles for Vodafone, Telefonica and 3 Ireland. Now, when I say various roles, I really mean it. Across these operators, I've held roles in research and development, customer care, technology, the commercial department and the finance department. I've worked in pretty much every department there is to work in. So, having built up a wide range of experience, I started to see an opportunity. I had a unique perspective across the business that allowed me to focus on what was important for each department. I could present data in a different manner to address the specific requirements of my audience. So this really came to the fore when I worked in Telefonica. Initially there, I worked on reconciling all the monthly wholesale interconnect invoices. So these invoices had high volumes of data, and even a low percentage discrepancy had a high revenue impact. But I moved on from there to a role in the business intelligence and analytics area, and I soon built up a reputation for myself for providing clear and relevant data in easy to understand formats. But always the main focus was on revenue. So I had to maximize revenue for the commercial department to minimizing revenue leakage for the revenue assurance and fraud teams. My move to Anam Technologies in 2015 was based on this reputation. Back in Telefonica, I also worked with Anam on their A2B SMS firewall solution. So I could see, even when I was in Telefonica, that they had a top quality technical solution, but there was quite a big gap in addressing the reporting requirements on the business side. To me now, this was nothing unusual. Anam were a technology-based company. They're used to dealing with and measuring success on the technical and engineering side of telecoms. So measuring things like time to deployment, throughput per second, minimizing latency, all that kind of engineering thing. The reporting gap, though, in fairness, it was also recognized inside Anam. And when I joined, my first objective was specifically to address this issue. So we focused purely on reporting. We quickly developed a solution that was based on principles more suited to our Tier 1 telecom customers. Our solution had 3 key requirements. It had to be accurate, had to be flexible, and it had to be secure. This solution was rolled out to our customers, and from the outset, the new reports were very well received by the customers. But my vision for the new functionality that I wanted to introduce went way beyond this. I wanted to extend the system. I wanted to enhance each of the SMS records and overlay an analytics layer to the reporting solution. This layer would clearly reveal the incredible effectiveness of Anam's SMS firewall solution. The best way to describe the picture I had in my head was that I wanted to provide a dashboard for the engine in the car that the firewall solution provided. At the time I joined Anam, I felt like the car was being driven without a dashboard. We could see that we were moving forward, but there was no way to tell how fast we were going, how many revs on the engine, if there were any dangers coming up, if there was anything wrong with the engine. I needed to develop an analytics layer that would provide this level of information that will be used both internally and externally. Of course, there's some distance and a lot of work between having an idea and producing an end result. If I think back now on the challenges, I'd probably put them into 2 categories. Firstly, I really had to work on articulating my idea. I had to get the picture of the solution out of my head and onto a page. This had to happen even before work could begin. Facing this challenge, I had to go through what I felt like was a constant stream of questions. What did I mean by analytics? What did my solution look like? How exactly did I want the records enhanced? This was a real challenge for me. A lot of the time, I didn't have a clear answer myself in my head. I knew what I wanted to get in the end result, but I didn't know how to get there. This, of course, makes things very hard to implement. The second challenge I had to face was really technical challenges. In some cases, I was looking for functionality from our product that just wasn't there yet. The standout for me is the many meetings I attended where I would repeat my vision of 1 record per message, just having 1 record in the system for each message we received. This statement was met with a range of responses. There were people looking at me like I was crazy, and then there were the people who were just exasperated, explaining to me again and again it just wasn't technically possible to provide 1 record per message. In hindsight, I have to acknowledge that most, if not all, of the questions I was asked were fair. In addition, the technical challenges faced were to be expected. If you consider that Anam was grounded and built on technical and engineering solutions. I was asking the team to work on a solution, but then I wasn't exactly sure myself of how that solution would work. However, we worked through these challenges. For me, it was all a matter of going back to the basics. I wanted to give the customers an insight they hadn't seen before. That was my underlying principle. I wanted to look at the data in a new manner from the customer's perspective. What mattered on the business side, not really on the engineering side. But of course, having these principles and then defining requirements, they're totally different things. There was more than one occasion where we'd worked through one of my ideas and we deployed this analytics functionality based on my requirements, only for me to realize that it didn't match exactly what I pictured. This was very frustrating, both for myself and our engineering department. They would have worked to deliver on my requirements. I'd written them out, I told them this was exactly what I wanted. And then when it's deployed, I'd say, that's not quite right, or that's not what I saw, or I'd start to work on another iteration of that idea. But by meeting these challenges, Anam has developed into a company that embraces what I call now continuous deployment. Each new version of the firewall brings new possibilities for the analytics layer, and then each new version of the analytics layer brings to light a new area that will demand new functionality from the firewall. Every iteration is trying to be an improvement on the previous one. This process is ongoing, and to be honest, I can't really see it ending anytime soon. In parallel with these functional deployments, where I'm building an analytics layer to go on our technical solution, I've also built up my team. Again, it took a while to really hone in on what we were looking for in our new employees. I wanted people that had analytical minds, but who could also take a step back and look at the wider picture, not just looking at data from the firewall, but taking inputs from external sources, trying to build up a more complete view of what is going on in the customer's network and from the business customer's perspective. The problem is that people with this type of mindset are actually very hard to find. I was very surprised how difficult it was to get the people that I wanted in front of me through a normal interview process. Over the course of the past years, we've managed to find these needles in haystacks and recruit a team of young and enthusiastic people who are eager for success. They're now based in our offices and on-site worldwide. Each of them has an analytical education and a background in telecoms. They've already taken on board that vision, the vision for a revenue focus that's validated by data from the analytic solution, but it's also supported by these external inputs. As a result, every day is spent focusing on maximizing revenue and minimizing these threats to revenue for our customers. Communication with our customers is also key. The feedback on the reporting and analytics solution has been overwhelmingly positive. Initially, when we went live with the reporting solution, this gave some external validation to the vision I was trying to implement. It allowed us to move on to the next stage. The power of the reports being provided was understood both internally here in Anam and by our customers. We were giving visibility of traffic to the customer in a manner they really had never seen before. And then when we developed the analytics layer and rolled this out to the customer, we started providing insights that the customers were not used to having. It was also very relevant from my point of view that the data and the reports being provided were easily understandable by the business owners. The reports really grabbed their attention and made them look closer at what was happening on their network. Of course then, looking closer generates a new sequence of questions and previously unexplored avenues. But using the analytics solution, we're able to answer these questions and explore these avenues, all backed up with hard data. On the A2P SMS side, which is our core business, Once we get traffic migrated to the firewall, we can immediately provide insights. Insights on things like the brands who are sending SMS over grey routes, the type of grey route being used, if they're using international, OLO, if they have a SIM-box problem. We also can give data on the number of A2P being sent by these brands, and then the type of A2P. So notification messages, are they one-time passwords? They might be just a marketing campaign or a security message. We can provide all these insights to our customers. Once traffic is migrated to the firewall, that's when my team and my area really come to the fore. We start our engagement with customers. It's all about business-based reporting. Some examples of the real-life services we've been able to develop with our customers are that we've proven that aggregators are distorting brand names, using accents and umlauts to try to circumvent our content-based rules. We've also set up business-level alarming. This allows us to get notified immediately aggregators' traffic drops below a certain level or if there's a deviation in a trend. With one of our customers, we've proven that their network has a SIM-box problem, and we were able to go into a level of detail to allow that customer to actually pinpoint the SIM card providers and address that problem at source. We've assisted with revenue forecasts and justifying business cases by sharing with the customer the details of what percentage of the detected grey route A2P we would expect to be monetizable. So this would again go back into looking at the types of A2P, whether it's notification, which may not be monetizable, or one-time passwords, which definitely are monetizable. And while these are just some examples, the list really is endless. We receive new types of requests and checks with each new customer. We're even branching out from A2P SMS, which will be our core area of expertise. But we also provide analysis on AA19 reports for international traffic. This allows customers to address imbalances in SMS sent or received internationally. This service is also applicable for domestic interconnect traffic, especially in countries where there is a significant interconnect charge between the domestic networks. Well, as I said earlier, the process of continuous deployment and improvement will continue. I'm sure there will be more challenges on the way, but I'm also confident these challenges will be overcome and the culture of continuous delivery will continue to deliver. To conclude, I hope you've enjoyed listening to the story of our journey over the past few years here at Anam. If you'd like to hear more detail about any aspect of what I've described, or our analytics solution in general, or indeed how it could be applied in your case, please do get in touch. You'll find me very willing to talk. This is one thing I never get tired of talking about.
Thanks to Hugh for coming into the studio to share his story. I'm Jason Bryan, and you've been listening to Eureka from ROCCO Radio.